a central role. Would it be something to consider that governments start not mandating or subsidizing anymore, but that we basically say we are going to oblige to use all manure first, and we need to have all manure digested. That we start thinking in different instruments to get this feedstock mobilized. That's a question I wanted to raise here for question one. A key driver, maybe thinking about the ways of maybe getting feedstock use obliged instead of that we just mandate and subsidize and get it going, that we have some key interaction, key instruments that we also have in the policy instrument box to get this value chains going. That's the question I wanted to raise here.
So I guess effectively creating a policy market pull.
By obligation, without subsidies, without a mandate, but you just oblige, like Germany, for instance, said, I'm not sure whether it's obliged, all phosphor in the water purification needs to be recovered. That's an obligation. That we start thinking in this kind of policy instruments that are actually then a key instrument to get this kind of investments massively going.
I think that's it. And that would be similar to in the liquid fuel space, things like fuel mandates. So rather than funding the inclusion of biofuel into the fuel system, but mandating it so that the market is required to accommodate that through whatever price markers are required.
Yes, that's the point I would like to raise for the IEA Bioenergy Network.
Thanks, Lois. Any other points people would like to raise or additions to what Lois has just suggested or other questions? Luke, familiar face.
Hi, good to be here again. Yeah, I think mobilization of biomass is one of the key things if you want to have bioenergy, but I think you need to broaden it up also in the bioeconomy. So you first, I think the idea is collect biomass for the bioeconomy, and then you can see where you can use it. Is it either for materials, chemicals, or energy? Probably the energy is more the residue type. So I think that's one of the keys. But well, I also brought this up in the European working group that you could have like systems like biohubs to collect local biomass and then move forward. Some countries have tried it, but they said, well, if there's no incentives, if there's no real added value for the local parties to do this, if there's no business case to do this, it's not going to happen. So this something that it's not something which is coming by itself. You really need to have like a program to stimulate this and have a plan behind it. So I think that's quite important to keep in the back of your head. I think on what Luz was saying, can you oblige farmers? A little careful with that, I think. I think in you have a situation in Netherlands and also in Flanders where we have the nitrogen issue. I think you can put obligations on farmers to reduce their nitrogen emissions, and biogas or digesters is one of the tool to do that, to control the nitrogen. But so it could be framed in that sense, but I wouldn't be in favor of really obliging every farmer to invest in this. So it's also needs to be a program where you stimulate them. I think that would be better. But that's my opinion.
Thanks,
Well,
Luke.
if I can react to that, we talk about nitrogen, but the emissions of methane are huge from manure. The issue is that if you use manure for biogas, if you prevent the methane going into the air, you already have a huge greenhouse gas effect. If you use it to replace natural gas, you have a little additional greenhouse gas effect.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to combine those policies. And as long as farmers are not, don't have demands on these methane emissions, then it won't happen. So you need to integrate that, and then you will have a little bit of synthetic natural gas also.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ulrich. Liz, you wanted to follow up?
Well, I would like also to mention something for the concerning question number 2. What we see we are platform on renewable fuels in the Netherlands. We are very much on translating the IEA bioenergy net knowledge towards the market. That's what we're doing. Not just your knowledge base, but this is the place where we are. What we see that there's a lot of need to get started, and we are actually thinking we might need to have more smaller scale facilities because we don't know yet what we encounter. So it would be very helpful when we start having smaller scale and also integrated already with e-fuel production would be extremely helpful, that we enhance the carbon. And in the whole light of biomass mobilization, the studies that we saw today, we can enhance the carbon use. And then, we have another availability issue because we are not just having one carbon source for one use. With integrated e-fuel use, you have the many pathways and CO2 in surplus, and that you can also use or enhance the product, and that would be very helpful in availability studies. Similarly, the Wolters issue, the point that he was making, thinking circular. If you look at the data model of the French presentation or the Swiss presentation, it's very binary. You've got biomass source A for use B. But what Walter is actually mentioning, it is not A to B, it is still a lot of things in between when it arrives at a B, and that what happens in between is not often captured in the data modeling of availability, to my idea. Thank you.
Thank you. There's some good chat happening in the typed chat as well. If anybody wants to verbally add or react to that, please feel free. Anyone else would like an opportunity with the microphone? Christiane.
Yeah, thanks. Also, I wanted to reflect on Liz and her comment, also like broadening it to carbon, actually. I think this could be also a selling point for, in general, the mobilization, because it takes away the general discussion on biomass, but rather lifts it to another scene of the carbon itself. So it makes up much more opportunities for the biomass use if you just extend it. So I think I would very much support that the discussion is broadened. I mean, we keep of course biomass, but highlight also the carbon aspect and have additional value there. And then I wanted to add to the discussion at the beginning. I think what we see also here in our regional context with Germany is that there's a lot of activity within the regions, but as Liz and also Luc were saying, I think they need more support because usually it's more national level. But the region is actually where the resources are, and everyone is aware of this, I think. But still, we see there's a lot of bottom up in the regions. But it definitely needs some more integration. Of course, biohubs could be one opportunity, but I think this should be evaluated more, how we can really bring the regional perspective and regional resource base more on a national level, that it can be more an untapped potential on.
I see a few nodding heads, Christiane, so thanks for that. Carl.
Hello, my name is Kavi Sivka, also from DBFZ. I want to elaborate on a couple of points. So what we see in Germany, for instance, and it's relating to the market uptake topic. I mean, there are these incentives for Annex A feedstocks, obviously, but what we see the largest potentials in Germany, especially unused, according to our database, it's a lot agricultural residues. However, the market uptake, for instance, in the transport sector is very low because oil-containing biomass is rather demanded. And also in the electricity sector, the increase is rather decreasing in the future, the usage. And now there's a debate to increase mandates for bioenergy shares for the heating and in the gas grid for the heating sector. So that's potentially a market uptake, but that's not happening. So we really have to go sector by sector. What are the incentives for market uptake to mobilize certain biomasses? For instance, now we have a new incentive for these non-food crops from degraded land. Potentially, this could be also thought about other biomasses, for instance, agroforestry and polluticulture, which are incentivized with funding. However, the end use uptake and usage incentivization, I think, could be strengthened. And I think another really important question is, if we look at the overall biomass supply, I mean, residues and waste, they only take up a minor share, and in Germany, most of them are already in use. So the overall question for the bioeconomy is not about mobilizing unused potentials. I mean, also to some degree, but it's really about rerouting existing uses. And I think we need a overall debate across all usage sectors where we can reroute and reuse certain biomass uses. For instance, when we think about feed, if we can increase circularity there. For instance, Norway just there was a report by some ministries about introducing alternative feed quota, and such measures could help to reduce the land consumption of certain sectors and also the biomass use that could be used for other sectors. Thank you.
Thanks, Carl. I now have a hand from Bas.
Thanks, Mark. Interesting discussion. I was wondering if some of your opinions on like promoting regional bioeconomies and regional mobilization over like the global value chains that we see right now. Because why are we sourcing used cooking oil from Southeast Asia? Because it's just super cheap, and there's sort of this price gap. You need a lot of money to mobilize your regional biomass versus just sourcing it from China, for example. So how do we overcome this this money gap to promote the regional development of the bioeconomy over just the market finding its way to the most cheaply available source of biomass?
Thanks, Bas. Carlos? Oh, I lost Carlos.
Can you hear me? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I think so. Okay, good morning, everybody. Just a brief comment drawing on what Carl Friedrich from Germany has said. I think that the narrative on circularity is really interesting. I think it's something that we can all of us agree. But going back to the regional bioeconomy approach, I think that coming from a Mediterranean country like Spain, we have to insist on other narrative, that is that the untapped potential that we have that is not used due to the fact that, as Luc Pellman said earlier, there is no business plan for that mobilization. So from our perspective, one of the most important points is how to mobilize that biomass that is, for instance, in the forests right now, and that we are sure that in some weeks is going to burn as every summer happens. But as every year can show, we have the same problem that it is uneconomical to take out from the forest. So we are in a vicious circle at a certain point that we should break, because for us, from the perspective of this region, being sustainable has everything to do with mobilizing biomass, mobilizing new biomass that is untapped. That is our narrative, actually. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Alison.
Hey everyone. I think some really good points have been raised. I think Lozi brought up the policy issue, and I think this was also raised in one of the presentations. I think the issue is really policy, not only having policy, but also policy certainty, because we keep, proposing policy changes, and I don't think that helps this kind of a market at all. So the presenter was talking about investment in large, I think, residual oil extraction equipment. And those are big investments for companies, and they have to see a business case and some sort of future for those things. I think Christiana also mentioned sort of small scale, I think production facilities or perhaps uses. And I think that's what I see. So I'm in Germany at the moment, but I'm from Canada, and I can feel the European perspective here of we actually have all of our biomass locked down, and we have sort of the opposite thing. We very much don't have all of our biomass locked down, but it's so far away from anything that it's uneconomic to access it. And I think the same thing is it's sort of the same thing with agricultural residues. You can get them, but they're just too expensive to make into low value products like fuels. So I think it's probably policy certainty, focus on some small scale solutions. So either, improving technologies until they're so good that they can make it work without economies of scale, which I think is difficult, or creating the hybrid solutions like densification in satellite plants and then central processing, and then coming up with some, I think, biorefining solutions that have products that are not fuels to drive the value, so you can actually fund those things.
Thanks, Sally. I'm just conscious that we had 15 minutes. Eric, I think, are you in the room with us?
Yes, I am.
How close are we to the 15 minutes? Haven't noted any.
We just received a message on screen that the breakout session will close in 3 minutes, so that will be now 2 minutes or less. And allow me before we close it that I have to save the chat and also stop the recording.
Okay. So we might have time for one more verbal comment, and if you have anything you want to ensure is captured in the saved discussion, please type it in the chat group as soon as you can. So last chance for a verbal contribution.
Mark, sorry to say, may I just give into consideration whether we can actually mobilize more local demands for local fuels apart from the mandates. Just a little remark that I would like to put here in order to have it captured in the report, maybe.
Yeah, good point. Okay, look, thank you, everyone. That was an excellent discussion. Well coordinated in terms of people taking in turn. Eric, you might want to make the saves you need to, because I think we're about to be pulled back to the main room.
Exactly.
And I'll look forward to seeing everyone back at the plenary session. And as promised, given we are over time, I will do my best to wrap it quickly. So thank you, everyone, and appreciate your patience with the timing.
Yeah, pause. Nice.